Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe, with episode number 24 in my long-running X-Files descent. Season 1 is coming to an end. Season 2 is nearly upon us, and here we are with the Erlenmeyer Flask. Season 1 comes to an end on May 13th, 1994. I should have looked on my calendar to see if that was a Friday by chance. That'd have been great. Director R.W. Goodwin, I think this is the first of 9 episodes he will direct, including one of my standout favorites, season 5 finale, The End. Absolutely love that, and how it leads into, of course, the first theatrical film, Fight the Future, which my wife and I had seen in the theater. I think we were living in New England at the time. And so, yeah, Chris Carter comes to, he writes. This is sort of a bookend to pilot, a sort of a cementing of the mythology arc. It's funny. We get the Smoking Man, William B. Davis, of course, Jerry Hardin again as Deep Throat, and we get quite the finale. I was really curious revisiting this, probably years since I've seen it, but knowing that season 1 is coming to an end, and see if I could somehow remember back to how I would have felt watching this on TV, knowing the next X-Files wasn't even coming down the pike, for months. And I was really taken back by the closing moments of the show. And I will just in case we've got some that I've never seen it, or maybe it's been so long you want to revisit it, I'll leave the very, very end alone in terms of spoiling. Most of us have all seen it a million times, right? I'll say this though, I was really excited when in the closing moments as they started to unfold, and in the last shot, at least in terms of the great epic moment, I was very well pleased, and sort of felt some of that old X-Files stuff just sort of, man, it must have been an interesting feeling, seeing a show end on that note, and then just, man, knowing, wow, we got months, and then boom, it'll be back, and just your excitement just slowly built over all that time. And then sort of the show does, I will get into this a little bit, you sort of have two closing moments. The main epic one that sort of was meant to shock you in terms of a certain character, and then it has its sort of extended or amended closing moments between Mulder and Scully, in which, in case, I will mention this, word comes down, and for the first time, Mulder seemingly is really impacted by it, but they are going to shut down the X-Files, and they're going to separate the two, and I'm really looking forward to revisiting season 1, season 2, episode 1, and revisit, and how do you move from this point, because this is still early on in the game, and this is stuff that we'll get over a lot of times throughout the seasons, and sometimes it's a little bit redundant. It's like, yeah, we've been here before, okay, we know where it's headed, sort of, kind of, whatever, and it all gets replayed in the movies, but we're still in the early goings here. I mean, we're just wrapping up season 1, so now this, for the very first time, there is going to be an episode 1, season 2, which picks up on the heels of how season 1 ended, and some of the shocking moments that were handed to us, and I'm excited. I'm excited to check out the first one. Fox, in fact, apparently Fox Network was against this piece of finality for season 1, because they were afraid, apparently, that people might not tune in to the continuing shows, thinking that, well, what does this mean? Is this their easy way out of not doing a season 2, or what's going on, or whatever? But thankfully, Chris Carter was able to stick to it and keep it in, and this will become a running theme, though, and the government will always be, the FBI will always be looking to shut things down, but certain people, and sometimes surprising people, will come to the forefront, and we never can really understand exactly what is motivating them, but they will work just when you think they're enemy number one, they're the ones who are keeping the X-Files going. And so it's a lot of intrigue, a lot of interesting things like that. So really, I don't want to get into the show a whole lot, but basically, you have an opening moment where this guy's being chased by police. In fact, this episode does have is one of the few that has a commentary with the director, which I did listen to, and I thought it was pretty interesting. The opening scene, it takes place at harbor that no longer is a sort of a warehouse harbor kind of thing going on. Now it's condos or something, but they were fortunate enough to be able to get in and shoot before all this stuff would be torn down. And it aesthetically does look pretty wild. But you get this guy being chased by police, and as he's shot trying to jump into the water from the pier, I think it was the pier. Anyways, he leaves a trail of green blood, and so there's our first real glimpse at something insidious is going on, right? And we'll see the Mulder find the bodies in the storage place in the tanks, and of course they're being messed with alien DNA, and that's what we find out with this guy. This guy is he'll come back into the episode. In fact, it was funny. The director mentioned on the commentary that there's a scene in the ambulance when they've actually they've got the guy in custody, the alien DNA genetically mutated person. And as they go to, I don't know if they inject something, they're going to inject something in them. Anyways, the fact that they rupture the skin, it releases this gas. Well, he talks about this story about this lady he had read in the news or something, saw in the news. This lady was being taken to the hospital, and they were trying to do something to help her. And a gas of sorts was emitted from her body, knocking out the medics in the ambulance. And so that's where he sort of got the idea for this. And I thought, dude, that is psychotic. That is really nuts. To think that this stuff is actually this weird has happened. And so they were against ending it this way, but they stuck by their guns. And so this guy, anyways, I was sort of backtracking to the Fox Network thing. So this guy disappears. Once he drops into the water, he disappears for a while, and then Mulder and Scully sort of pick up, the scene of what's going on and their investigations as they sort of part ways a little bit. Scully probably is the half that becomes very much aware that of the reality of some of the stuff that Mulder has already believed for a very long time, and this really does begin to shake her up a bit, which leads to some interesting moments. In real life, she actually is very, 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 very pregnant, and so of course they had to do a few things to hide that a little bit. I was reminded by that as the director was talking his way through the commentary. So anyways, the intrigue builds and builds in there trying to figure this stuff out. And of course, by the end, we're led into the final moments and the great shock that will help end season 1 in a pretty dramatic way. And I probably don't have to leave that alone, but I'll just leave it alone. Maybe revisit a few thoughts as we get into season 2, episode 1 on that. So it's an interesting. I'll say this: there is a character when I think it was in the. I was either reading this somewhere. When he received his script, Chris Carter left a message on the script and just said, "Nobody ever really dies in the X-Files." And so it was sort of meant to comfort the individual, as this might not necessarily be the finality of their character. So I thought that was kind of funny. So anyways, interesting. So alien mutation works. Of course, this leads into super soldiers, but an interesting bookend to episode 1. In fact, at the end of pilot, you remember you get cigarette smoking man putting that piece of evidence away in the Pentagon, in that greater collection of hidden artifacts. We'll revisit that closing moment again as a bookend. And so a lot of what you saw in pilot sort of, again, is somewhat revisited and bookended to close out season 1 and sort of set the stage for a much greater opportunity to delve deeper into the conspiratorial nature of abductions, the mythology, conspiracies, why we ought not to trust anyone, especially your government. So all in all, it was really fun revisiting season 1, episodes 1 through 24. Very much looking forward to delving into season 2, and very, very, very happy that I've started this endeavor. Very happy that I picked this up, and very happy just to kind of get in, and it's gonna feel good when season 2, 3, 4, as we get into 6, and it's gonna really, when we've covered some ground, right? It's gonna be really good. So. Anyways, I don't think there's really much more to say than great finale, great season-ending show. Really, maybe just one or two missteps. A few shows in season 1 that just didn't quite bring that many of them did. But that's the nature of TV. That's the nature of episodic TV, I guess. Not every single show is going to hit that benchmark of 10 or plus, right? But I would say most, even the shows that didn't seem to reach that high level, were still fun shows. And it's I think the neatest thing about doing this, reviewing these or talking about them, whatever, is just the process of doing it step by step by step. Often, me and my wife will just throw on an X-Files app, and we have our favorites, Blood, Triangle. We have our favorites that we revisit all the stinking time. But this is different. This is like step 1, then 2, then 3, and just really just moving in it in a really detailed manner. It's I'm curious how I'm going to feel a few seasons in. And even when we get to that epic moment, when we get to talk about the first major feature film, Fight the Future, which I saw in the theater, which was so awesome. I absolutely love that movie. But we'll get there. We'll talk about it. So stick with me. Stay with me, I hope, and spread the word. If there's any fans of the X-Files out there that don't know about me doing this, I don't promise perfection. I'm plethora of flaws here going on, but I do love the X-Files, and they did make a indelible mark upon my life as I watched them on TV in the reel from beginning all the way through. The only TV show I ever did that for. See, only one. I'm not a big episodic, and especially streaming. I have friends that'll tell me, "Oh, you gotta catch up. You gotta catch up." Dude, seriously, when we're like a season in, or we're even 3 or 4 or 5 episodes, I forget it. There's no chance I'm not even going to bother, because I just don't have the time for that junk. I'm either locked in and loaded from the beginning and follow my way through, or I don't at all. It's just the way it is. But the X-Files is something that's very near and dear to my heart. So I'm going to look forward to continue on the adventure of discovery, of rediscovery, I guess. So anyways, stay with me. Season 2, Episode 1 coming down the pike. I might take 1 week off. I don't know, but it won't be any more than that if I do. So then again, I may not. I may just say, heck with it. Just jump right in, right? So anyways, thank you so much for just being with me season 1. Looking forward to season 2. Thank you. I really mean it. As always, we end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream. We might be useful to you.